Welcome, wizard, warrior, wanderer, wayfarer, and wildcat alike. Frank Monday transmitting to you from the central kingdom of the celestial dragon, Twilight Zone Peking, via the power of the dark mirror. Today we're talking about the four worlds of the Kabbalah, and I'm over here making myself a cup of coffee. Look at this. It says Richard Dolan's Intelligent Disclosure just went live. Is he trying to piggyback on my live stream? What's up with that? Why does he want to go live the same time I go live? It must be Tuesday night for you guys. Okay, so he's got a little bit of combative energy here with Frank Monday, huh? I'm sure he doesn't even recognize me. 'Cause he's a big hitter. He's got, I think, more than 10,000 subs. So once you get 10,000 subs, you're in the big league. Like Professor Hamamoto. Did you guys watch Professor Hamamoto this morning? He's so cute. I really enjoyed him. He did a presentation on, I don't even remember. It's all just so irrelevant to my day to day life that it's entertaining to listen to, but it's like, well, when will that ever matter? And the truth is, never. It will never matter. Not for a person like me at the lowest rungs of society. All right. What does it matter for me to sit there and listen to the professor pontificate on the royals, as it were? What is that song that the girl sings about that they're not royals? Do you guys remember that song? I'm trying to think of what it was. I don't know. It was in the realm of pop recently. I just listened to Odd Lang Syne by Home Free, I think was their name. If you guys were here, you could help me figure this out. We're not royals. What is that song? I don't think that's the name. Oh, it's just called Royal Song. Who does it? KZ? Is that accurate? Lord? Is it by Lord? 321. That's a fun little number. Let's see if this is it. I think so. It sounds like a pop song. Royals. Okay, there she goes. I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. Interesting. I have. I've had diamonds. What's the big deal with diamonds? They're like the most common, least expensive of the crystal formations. Um, people like them because they're promoted as being a symbol, a status symbol. I'll analyze her song a little bit. She cut her teeth on wedding rings in the movies. Doesn't make any sense to me. No idea what she means. She's not proud of her address, okay? So why? What does your address have to do with who you are? Maybe she lives in the ghetto. She getting raped by the. She lives in a torn up town. But every song's like gold teeth, gray goose tripping in the bathroom. So just a debased commercial culture of worshiping what? Fluff? Don't get it. I don't guess I'm supposed to though. It's not meant for me. It's meant for teeny boppers. It's marketed to 14-year-old girls that want to be TikTok stars and have an OnlyFans. This is a little more my speed right here. Let's listen to this. I'm making a coffee before I get started. This is just the pregame, the pregame warm up. Should old acquaintance be forgot, and all the hearty mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot, and days of old lang syne, and days of old lang syne. I'll try to sing it with them. Old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. Take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. Now, Old Lang Syne, is that Gaelic or Scottish? But what language do the Scots speak? I did some research on it, and it doesn't say. It just says Old Lang Syne is a Scottish song with words attributed to the national poet of Scotland, Robert Burns. The composer is not definitely known. In English-speaking countries, it's used in the New Year festival. The lyrics of Auld Lang Syne are in the Scots language. Okay, it says it is in Scottish language, which I don't know the name of. I know that the Irish has several languages, and one of them is called Gaelic. So the word Lowlands, Scots language are also called Lowland Scots. It's a historic language of the people of lowland Scotland, and one closely related to English. The word Lowlands, which was originated by the Scottish poet Robert Burns, is usually used for a literary variety of the language, especially that used by writers of the mid-20th century movement known as the Scottish Renaissance. Scots is descended from Northern English, which displaced Scots Gaelic in portions of Scotland. So it is a form of Gaelic, right? Or it's a displaced Scots Gaelic. Northern English during the 11th and 14th centuries, during the 11th through 14th centuries, as a consequence of Anglo-Norman rule. By the early 14th century, Northern English had become the spoken tongue of many Scottish people of the east and south of the Highlands, with Scots Gaelic continuing to be used in the southwest. So there you have it. It's Lowlands, Lowland Scottish, not Scots Gaelic, but Scots Lowland, Lowland, Scottish for lowlands. So what were the Highlanders speaking then? If the Lowlanders were speaking the Lowlands, then I guess it says that the Scotties interchangeably with English, Scotties. So they were speaking Scotties. And we've got additions, Northern English in pronunciation, also in its vocabulary, particularly in additions from French, Dutch, Latin, and Gaelic. And the earliest written records in Scots date from the 14th century and 16th century had supplanted Latin as the principal literary and record-keeping language in the kingdom. That's good because nobody really these days knows any Latin per se. I've studied some, but that doesn't give me much of an understanding. It's phonetically distinguished by stronger R's, shortened vowels, and simplified diphthongs. All right, so there you had it. I was curious, and now I know. Auld Lang Syne is Lowlands, which is Lowlands Scottish, which displaced Scots Gaelic in the 11th through 14th centuries. In case you are wondering, in case you heard Auld Lang Syne during the New Year's festivities, and you're wondering what the hell is Auld Lang Syne and what does it mean? They say it translates directly as old long since. So you're getting that since the old since long ago or since the old times or for old times' sake. It first wrote it down in 1788, but it wasn't published until 1796 in James Johnson's Scots Musical Museum. So Old Lang Syne, he says he took it from an old man's singing at the top of the hill. There's a neat little still where the smoke curls up at the sky, And he said he went up there and he heard the old man a crooning and he wrote it down. And they said the word Old Lang Syne, or should old acquaintance be forgot, actually came from a 1720 poem by Scottish poet Alan Ramsay. But there's so should old acquaintance be forgot is a very old timey thing, and he heard an old man crooning it, and he wrote it down, and he got credit because he was the um, national poet of Scotland in the 17th century. No, 18th century. Sorry, wrote it down in 1788, published it in 1796, and has ever since received credit for it. But it was actually, hey, somebody's out in Happy Land. Look, Miss Mary Moon, I didn't even see you out there. Hello, hello, hello. Gemini Moon by Mars Gemini at the moment. Yep, I was aware of that. I didn't know there was a Mars Gemini at the momento. At the it should be momentito. At the momentito. Um, uno momento would be future tense, right? In a moment. So at the momentito, in adelante, in atrás, in are you trying to speak? Are you speaking Spanish or are you just being playful? Nice hair. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was trying to get that under control earlier. Kind of buzzy in the Astral weather. Just make it up to have no Spanish. Oh, okay. You don't have any Spanish. So I'm researching Auld Lang Syne as an interesting song because it has the idea of streaming back mentally to relive adventures with your friends. And in the Scots version, it's got a lot more of the old Lowland, or what they call the Lowlands Scottish dialect that had replaced Scots Gaelic in the 11th through 14th century. So the song's really, really dating back quite a bit older than its original publishing in 1796, and we're probably thinking several hundred years before that. Says, should all the acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should all the acquaintance be forgot and all names for lang syne, my Joe, for lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. And surely you'll be pint and surely you'll be your pint stopped, and surely I'll be mine. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. We twa hae run about the braes and put the gowans fine, and wandered mony weary foot, sing auld lang syne. We twa hae paidly the burn frae morning sun till dine, but seas between us braid herald since auld lang syne. And there's a hand me trusty fair, and gies a hand o' thine, and we'll tak a right guide, and we'll tak a right guide Willie Watt for Oglan Syne. Now we'll tak a right guide Willie Watt. What the hell does that mean? I've got no idea. Let's have a look at it. And we'll talk a right guide Vilivat. Anybody know what that means? Talk a right guide Vilivat. You'd have to have no idea, huh? Most of it, most of it you understand. I mean, for morning sun till dine. So I guess from the morning until the evening. Talk a right good, huh? Take a right good, well draught. It says well draft. Vilivat. So a goodwill draft, it says in the English version, and we'll take a right good will draft. So like a big drink of our beer. Thank you for that, Bravados. Welcome. Oxwell, good. Yeah, we'll so in the future when you want to take a big draft of your beer, you say, will taka right good vilivat. Ah, that'll be fun. Welcome, one and all, to the Frank Monday channel, where we are studying all kinds of things, this, that, and the other thing. Odd Lang Syne. I Here in China, here's an interesting update. Here in China, typically they have two New Years, right? They have the nice apple strawberry crisps. I don't even know what an apple strawberry crisp is, but it sounds like a pastry. So here in the Chinese, they have a TV gala that they play on the New Year's, and the really big one, of course, is the Chinese New Year, the Spring Festival, which is their New Year. But they also have a like for foreigners. This is really starting to annoy the fucking horse shit out of me right here. This thing is not cooperating. The cord keeps moving my phone. Anyway, they have a New Year for foreigners as well because they recognize that, there's also the rest of the world has their own calendar and their own New Year, which is December 31st through January 1st. And so they do a TV gala for that too. But for the last 20 years, up until about 3 or 4 years ago, they had always played Auld Lang Syne at the stroke of midnight. They would do the countdown, of course, right? Everybody does the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 7, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. And then you launch into Auld Lang Syne, right? That's the tradition. And then you tell everybody about your New Year's wishes. So let me know in the ideas room, did you make a New Year's wish? You passed out for the countdown. Really? You didn't make it? Not good. You got to make it into the new year, man. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Um, I had myself some beers that night. I think if you had tuned into my live stream, you saw me kind of getting a little bit drunk, but I stayed up until maybe 3 a.m. So I stayed up till midnight with my kids and wife and then gave everybody kisses and uh, preached my dogmatism to them about, why Auld Lang Syne was important, why it's important to feel gratitude and review the year. Oh, there were fireworks, huh? No fireworks here in the city. They've outlawed them or banned them. I didn't make the countdown either, quitting smoking now. Yeah, you do that, don't you know how everybody hates a quitter. So pay no attention to me puffing on my JP Farrells. If you're quitting, I support you in that endeavor. Oh, definitely. I don't recommend it for the light of heart, but for those of you who have got the courage and motivation to cut yourself free from the old tobacco demon, then do it. Alan Carr easily way to stop smoking says call it stopping because stopping is easier. Call it stopping because stopping is easier. It's easier than quitting. Okay. Well, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. You do you. They're expensive in the States. And I think Bravadors, you're in Canada as well, right? So you're probably paying anywhere from 10 to 15 bucks a pack Canadian. Yeah, you got to distract yourself with positive activities, start doing other things that you enjoy. Oh, you're in Scotland still, right? Then you might have enjoyed my little conversation on the origin of Auld Lang Syne, and that the Auld Lang Syne is not a Scots Gaelic. Um, it's not Scots Gaelic, but it is a Lowlands Scot, which the word Lallans, Lowlands, is what they call that form of Lowlands Scottish that usurped Scots Gaelic. It says it displaced Scots. Scots Lowlands is a descendant from Northern English, which displaced Scots Gaelic in portions of Scotland in the 11th through 14th centuries. Hey, welcome, more Canadians. Wow, that's fascinating. It's everybody's a Canadian in here today. That's pretty interesting. And I was going to mention that it was a Canadian performer and a Canadian radio show that made Auld Lang Syne popular as a New Year's song. It says Guy Lombardo. Do you guys know who that is? He's one of your Canadians out there. I got someone knocking at the door. Give me a minute. Oh, ni hao. Ni hao, ni hao. So, yeah, Guy Lombardo, he helped make Auld Lang Syne a New Year's tradition in North America. His band, the Royal Canadians, played the song at the turn of the new year in a series of popular radio and television broadcasts that began on December 31st, 1929, and continued until 1959. So there you have it. Many variations of the wording can be found in both versions of Auld Lang Syne as they have been set down over the years. It says surviving manuscripts from Robert Burns' own hand are not identically worded. That's very common with Irish folk songs as well. I don't know very many Scottish folk songs, but if you didn't know that already, Bravadors, Angelica, then you know a little bit about Scottish history now. Their national poet, the national poet of Scotland, his name was Robert Burns, and he says that he was traveling through, I believe it said Highland Scotland, and he ran into an old timer singing the song, and he says, at the top of the hill, there's a neat little still where the smoke curls up at the sky. By the whiff and the smell, you can plainly tell there's poteen brewing nearby. Come one and all from Donegal, Sligo and Leitrim too. We'll take a sip and we'll give them the slip and then take a sip of the rare old Mountain Dew. Skidly-a-dee-dee-do, skidly-a-dee-dee-do, skidly-a-dee-dee-dee, skidly-a-dee-dee-do, skidly-a-dee-dee-do, skidly-a-dee-dee-dee. Now learned men who use the pen have written her praises high. That sweet poteen from Ireland that's made from wheat and rye. So away with your pills, it'll cure all ills, whether pagan, Christian, or Jew. Take off your coat and slack your throat with a bucket full of Mountain Dew. Skidly-a-dee-dee-do, skidly-a-dee-dee-do, skidly-a-dee-dee-dee. You guys know that one, the rare old Mountain Dew. Again, I don't know any Scottish per se, like distinctly Scottish. I believe the tones were originally Scottish, though. Let me see if it's got any information on the wolf tones. They're a really good. Thank you, Priscilla Lapiri. I really appreciate that. You're new to the channel. I don't think I've ever seen you before. It seems like I have seen a Priscilla in the chat, but it was years ago. Is this your first time? And if so, welcome, and don't let it be your last time, right? We are discussing this 100-day magical challenge. We are discussing the finer points of astral travel and astral projection, as it were, as I am wolf tones, WOLFETOOTONES, the wolf tones. You have done cousins, huh? Yeah, the wolf tones, they have okay, they do have a Scottish song. They've got the no, the orange and the green. That's the Irish flag, isn't it? The Irish flag used to be bright royal blue with a gold harp in the middle. I was born in a Dublin street. No, that's still Irish. Oh, the title of the chat pulled you in? Wow, welcome. Thank you for that. It's your first time. Well, We got a lot of good folks out here in the ideas room today. Miss Mary Moon is from New Scotland, the Canadian coast, and um, whoops, what happened there? What happened there? Something happened there. Hold on. Let's see the name of this. Oh, the name of this song is a famous one, right? It's "Come Out You Black and Tans, Come Out and Face Me Like a Man." Pisces Power, yeah, that's right. Yeah, my love is like a red, red rose in the Robbie in that Robbie Burns. Yeah, so Bravador, she's out in Scotland, and Miss Mary Moon's out in New Scotland, and then Priscilla, you said that you're in Canada. Is that correct? Let me see. I'm gonna review the chat here, guys. Give me just a second. Owen might be sleeping. Yeah, funny. Let's see where Priscilla said she was from. I'm trying to check the chat, guys. Canada's like $20 for cigs. Wow, that's just crazy. Oh, you're from Montreal. Montreal or Montreal? Montreal. So you must have some France as well. Yeah, you said that yeah, you're in the so-called Dunn cousins. I don't know what Dunn means. What is Dunn? That's a surname, right? Francis to confuse Frank. Yeah, French Quebec, right? So you must parler français. My French is lacking. I'm in a big country. Dreams stay with you like a lover's voice across the mountain slide. Soy French Canadian. Montreal. Montreal. Is it Montreal or Montreal? My Again, my French is not on spot at all. So Priscilla, you don't know who I am, and Montreal. Um, I'll tell you a little bit about my background if you're interested. I'm originally a Angelino, native born to Los Angeles, California, and I've lived all over. But my most of my father's family were German Jews, and my mother's family mostly Irish Scots. So we've got Scots Irish on my mother's side, and the Germanic Jews on my father's side. So my dad always said, "Kid, you're a German Irish Jew." So you've got the German work ethic, the Irish fighting spirit, and the Jewish mysticism. So I'm a clever combination of those three things. I'm a German Irish Jew, lads and lassies. Yeah, so I know kaput for me German, that's about it. And then for me Gaelic, I can say pog me iri hon, or kiss me Irish ass. And biggin to Gaelic. Do you speak Gaelic? So my Irish is very, very limited to just a couple of words. And then like because I grew up American, I didn't grow up speaking anything but just Angelino, Spanish influenced American English. And then my Hebrew side will give me the old shalom, the peace, right? Shabbat shalom, have a peaceful Sabbath. Let me see here. What did I want to look up? You added some. What I added this channel, Frank. I added some. What does that mean? Miss Mary Moon, explain yourself. On this channel, Frank, I added some clips tonight. Oh, okay. You added some clips on your Mary at Sea Level 3. Good. I'll check it out for sure. Mary says, Yenas comprende pas la Francie is basically all I know, originally from West Coast BC mountains. Okay. But you live on the East Coast now, is that correct? Nova Scotia is on the East Coast. Guten Nacht und schön Traum. This means good night, sweet dreams, I think, in German. Okay. Guten Nacht, I know, definitely. Gute Nacht. Und, schön. Yeah, again, I'm going to struggle if we get into too much European languages. Chinese, I'm a little more clear on. Oh, so to finish my story, when I was a boy, I fell in love with Chinese culture, kung fu, calligraphy, Taoist philosophy, that kind of thing. And I moved to China when I was 30, and I've been here since. I've been here 20 plus years now, so I'm right around the half century mark in me own in me old in my own age, 5 decades, two of those decades living here in Twilight Zone Old Peking, and my first 3 decades in the Americas, right? So I was just looking up here the wolf tones, and then I got distracted. I was thinking about what? I don't recall, so doesn't matter. Yes, I am in Twilight Zone Old Peking right now as we speak. This is my little apartment here. I got me I got me Old Glory flying in the background, the American flag, to remind me who I am. Um, that I'm an American. But yes, I live in China. I'm married to a Chinese gal. She's a Beijinger, and we have 2 children, 2 lovely children. My daughter is 15 going on 16 this year, and I think she's 15, 16, something like that. And my son is 13, going on 14. But the old wife, I stay in here in the I got a little office next to the kitchen, and then that way, if I smoke my JP Farrells, then my smoke will go into the oven flue because it's smoking at home is not polite. So you gotta, hey, there's my daughter. I am, yeah. It's okay, you're doing all right. Ooh, she's making herself a milk tea, an instant milk tea. Yeah, I wanted to look up the lyrics to Come Out You Black and Tans. That's always a fun one. That's one of Owen's favorite songs. So we have a lot of eclectic mixture of folks in here from time to time. Typically, a lot of folks from Canada, Ireland, and the UK, believe it or not, which I find very interesting because I have a very distinctly American accent. But it just goes to show that folks from all over will tune in and say hello. Um, Let me see if I can look that out. Come out ye black and tans. I've been using new a new encyclopedia because they don't allow Wikipedia in China. So I have to use a I'm using Britannica, an encyclopedia called Britannica, which I believe is a British encyclopedia, but it's not free. Isn't that an interesting thing? Like, if you can read some of the articles for free, but if you really want to get in and start doing research on their platform, then you have to purchase an ongoing subscription of like $10 a month for the rest of your life in order to be able to use their encyclopedia. And I thought, "Ah, come on, man, what happened to the spirit of putting information in the public domain for free?" And they're just not going to do it. You know what I mean? Everything's pay for play now. So if you want to read an article, even if you're an educator like myself, to give you a little more about my background, I've been working as a an English teacher for the last 20 plus years. That's right, they do what they want. So it says Black and Tan originally comes from a name given to British recruits who enrolled in the Royal Irish Constabulary, the RIC, from January 1920 to July 1921. Their colloquial name derived from the makeshift uniforms they were issued because of a shortage of RIC uniforms, green police tunics and khaki military trousers, which together resembled the distinctive markings of a famous pack of Limerick foxhounds. When the Irish Republican agitation intensified after World War I, a large portion of the Irish police resigned. They were replaced by temporary English recruits, mostly jobless former soldiers who were paid 10 shillings a day. In seeking to counter the terrorism of the Irish Republican Army, wow, that's strong language right there. To counter the terrorism of the Irish Republican Army, the IRA, which should be reworded when seeking to thwart the freedom fighters of the original Irish Republic, trying to drive the English from their borders. The Black and Tans themselves engaged in brutal reprisals, notably on Bloody Sunday, November 21st, 1920. The IRA killed 11 Englishmen suspected of being intelligence agents. Well, they probably were intelligence agents, and so basically they're, you know, engaged in what is that when you espionage. So they put to death 11 Englishmen for espionage, and the Black and Tans took revenge the same afternoon, attacking spectators at a Gaelic football match in Croke Park, Dublin, killing 12 and wounding 60. The IRC was disbanded in 1922 after the Anglo-Irish Treaty of December 1921. Yeah, I know, huh? I'm making real-time edits here as we go over the information. So after the Irish freedom fighters put to death 11 infiltrators, right, guilty of espionage in their country, then that British system of royals retaliated by murdering 12 people at a football game. Shows you who's the real bad guys in this situation, right? So yeah, our favorite Irish rebel song is "Come Out, Ya Black and Tans, Come Out and Face Me Like a Man." Um, yeah, we'll not go too far with the editing in real time because yeah, they don't appreciate it. But let's have a listen. Reside with this chorus. Come out, ya black and tans, come out and face me like a man. Show you ain't for you Valentine's. Major L like hell away from this illusion. They got good visuals on this too. I'm gonna say black and tan, stand up and treat me like a man. Oh, the IRA major, unlike LA, from the sweet lands of Kilisha. It looks like a movie I'd like to see. You see that this is a yeah, come show us how you slew those old Zulos 2 by 2 when they fought you back with bows and arrows. How you killed one native shaman with your 16-pounder gun. Um, yeah, it really. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into the history of it, but the wind that shakes the barley is really good. Maybe that's what that is. I don't know where they're taking that from, and it's really hard to look anything up being here in China because I don't have access to the outside internet. My VPN doesn't work usually. Somehow I've been sneaking under recently, but typically my VPN doesn't work very good, and it doesn't work on my laptop. But I've gotten it working on my phone for some reason right now. Um, but as a result, I can't really look anything up on any. The only search engine that will connect occasionally are Chinese ones, which don't give back good results. And so information is definitely being censored these days and rewritten real time. That's why they don't want anybody owning books anymore. They want everybody cataloging electronically and then paying a monthly fee for every single place where you can read things. It's really everything's really gone downhill since the great turning right of 2012. I think that's when it all started. Like it had kind of already reached its apex of freedom, and then we just started falling down into greater human enslavement worldwide. Though, yeah, you might say, hey, China's probably the worst among them, but it's a global phenomenon. The Chinese aren't doing anything that the world leaders aren't letting them do. Yeah, it's happening everywhere. China's kind of the what do they call that? The flagship store for the New World Order. 24/7 surveillance and tracking and monitoring. What did I want to look up? Oh, what movie appears in the Wolf Tones Black and Tans music video? That's kind of a complex search term, huh? The Wolf Tones, the baton. The Wolf Tones doesn't say. Come out, you black and tans. Um, Irish rebel music band that incorporates elements of traditional Irish folk songs. It doesn't tell me what. It doesn't tell me what. Doesn't tell me what it is. That's okay. Yes, we are evolving in consciousness. That's why the astral projection is such a key element, because then in the abodes of twilight, we can just have ultimate freedom and travel wherever we want. And even if they eventually, they eventually capture your physical being, you can still get out of there spiritually. And it's really important, I think, to learn about some of this. And I'll tell you why. Because um, there is an overwhelming human desire to experience the invisible world while still living. And so there are many wide approaches to this, and diverse schools that would give different techniques. But with our experience with modern dark mirrors, right, like these things we're using right now to communicate with each other, we're developing a different type of understanding. And I think that really the idea of cooperatively investigating these things on our own is what's going to bring about progress, at least at the individual level, and maybe somehow at a community level, like these little YouTube communities. Then small groups of people can advance themselves. For example, when I started this 100-day magical challenge, I chose the Chariot as the major arcana for the contemplation section of doing your astral projections. And then I didn't even find out until later that the Chariot is from the Hebrew Merkavav, which means chariot riders. And it was the Hermetic teachings of their projections into the starry palaces called the Hecalot, that this all comes from the Corpus Hermeticum. And I had done it just as intuitively. I thought, okay, let's contemplate a few tarot cards during the 100-day magical challenge. And I said that the chariot's going to be the vehicle for us to get into the astral realm, the realms of twilight, and kind of get around in there and do some discoveries and make some mapping of it, at least for myself and anybody who joins me on the 100-day magical challenge. And then I started getting a few books, adding a couple of additional books on astral travel. Like I added Circle of Stones, and The Astral Body is a 1927 publication by author E. Powell. And then I wrote this in here. And they started off, um, he started off his book on astral projection, quoting that the contemplation of the chariot, whereas I was also including for the reading section of the the program to look into Robert Bruce's astral dynamics. He hasn't mentioned the tarot at all, but his work is based on Ophiel, which who wrote a astral projection book back in the 1960s, I believe 1964, and it's called The Art and Practice of Astral Projection by Ophiel, Ophiel. So those two books I was basing this practice on. And his book starts off with contemplation of a tarot card as well, the moon. And I didn't choose the moon. The moon was my first choice because that's really the one most directly connected with astral projection. But I didn't choose it because it has some negative connotations and it's a little bit more esoteric and it's a little bit more frightening for people if they're not familiar with hermetic teachings and then they look at a card like the moon, they might feel like, it's involved with black magic and stuff because they don't understand the symbology. So I thought, well, choose the chariot because the chariot is arrayed with the vestments of um, the temple, and it still has the dual sphinxes at the front of the chariot, so it's still kind of harkens back to that ancient Egyptian origin. But it was an intuitive choice for me. Yeah, the tarot and magic is kind of my thing, and I'm learning astrology because it's important. But Mary is our master astrologer, far my superior in the realms of astrology. Um, Let me check the chat real quick so I can keep up with you guys. If my wife catches me puffing on this JP Farrell, she'll start screaming and yelling, man. Um, Mary says she has a French accent. Fruit pickers came to BC, Quebec when she was young. Priscilla Lapierre said she had a vision of the chariot, the charioteer. French is different. It's heavy slang. Hemisync. I've heard about hemisync technology. I've never used it, but let me take this smoke over here. I can continue talking, but I can't check the chat because if my wife smells smoke, she'll scream and yell like a banshee. Tell me more about hemisync. I've heard about hemisync technology, but I'm not well versed in it, and I've not used it because mostly what I do is natural, or I try to do as much natural stuff as I can. Like, so the hemisync I use is called the Tree of Life, and I don't use just any Tree of Life. I use the Hermetic Tree of Life, and so just if you're familiar at all with the Tree of Life, Robert Monroe, huh? The hemisync methods. I'll have to look into it, Priscilla, and thank you for that. I would smell that a mile away, just even the butt of a cigarette. Yeah, some people who, like my wife's an ex-smoker, so she doesn't smoke, but she did smoke in her college years. And so I think like smokers who have quit, they're even sometimes more anal retentive than people who have never smoked. But yeah, to each his own. To each his own. If you don't like to smoke, don't smoke. That's just as easy as it is. And if you don't like being around smokers, then don't be around smokers. I told my wife when we met, I'm like, I got a couple of bad habits. One of them is smoking, and the other is drinking occasionally, and sometimes womanizing. And I said, if you want to be my wife and stuff like that, then you'll have to accept that because there's, a spade is a spade, and a leopard seldom changes its spots. And there's a good chance that I will occasionally, indulge in my vices. And if you can accept that, then we can go forward. And if not, then just bail out now. I'll hit the road, I'll go that way. And of course, she agreed to that before getting married. But then after we got married, she's like, nah, I just said that to get you to marry me. Now that we're married, I'm your boss. So, I find that to be a bit deceptive. So you in Chinese we have an expression we say "huo gai," which means that you got your just dessert or you deserve it, right? So if you marry a man that tells you that up front and is very honest and forthright about it, and then you say, okay, I can accept that, you know, the your tobacco habit and your occasional indiscretions, and then later on you recant that and say, no, no, I'm reneging on that contract. Let's renegotiate. Then I don't know what to tell you. You know, you get what you see, and it's not much more. So the tarot card, I wandered off the path there, guys. Sorry about that. Um, so the I'll definitely I'll look into the Hemi sync, and thank you for that, Priscilla. You love the Thoth Hermes Mercury boy. Yeah, yeah. I love the Hemisync methods by Robert Monroe. I'll have to write that down because chances are I won't go back and check the chat later. Now, tell me a little more about it though. It's a technology that you have to use like um, vibratory sounds in your headset, right? That like balance the spheres of the brain. Is that how it works? I think that's how it works. So I'll put that in here as a note. That's right. I agree with you. Robert Monroe. That sounds like a familiar name too. I I have a very small library of books that I study at any given time. And like since this 100-day astral challenge, the 100-day magical challenge with astral projection as the focus, then I'm pretty much just close reading this very small selection of books, which includes another Dr. Bob, Robert Monroe. So no coincidences there, right? Monroe, and is it a book or it's just an entire system, right? And it's called Hemisync Methods. I'll check it out. Hemisync. Methods. Got to make sure I write it down or I'll never remember. Um, yeah, so I like to keep it limited to a select range of close reading topics. That way I don't get inundated with too much on my plate at one time. So for now, it's Robert Bruce's Astral Dynamics, Ophiel's Art and Practice of Astral Projection. And then I even kind of meandered off the path a little and started studying a very short compilation by Carl Jung called his Seven Sermons. I'll give you the total title there in case you're interested in looking at it. It's not of much use though, but there is something there. Carl Jung in 1916 as Palsilides of Alex. And then on the 2nd of January, I opened a Hebrew thing that I was guided to spiritually called the Shimham Epharash. So the Shimham Epharash is, in this particular example, is from a collection of various magical manuscripts from the Arsenal Library, a collection of the Comte de Boulainvilliers in his work entitled La Science Kabbalistique. So, where he extracted the seals of the 72 angels of the Kabbalistic Tree of Life from an 18th century manuscript and there's a really brief document here published on invoking the 72 angels of the Shimham Epharash. And I opened this because I was spiritually guided to it, but I opened it on the 2nd of January for the first time. I've never seen this publication in my entire life. And you've heard of this manuscript, huh? And what I noticed was I was looking for angels to invoke for a specific purpose. And so I said, okay, Shemham Efrash, I know about the shining ones, the flaming angels, right, of Solomon's brass vessel. And the first angel in it, when I opened it, ruled over the day, the 2nd of January. And it was on the 2nd of January when I opened it. And I thought, okay, well, there's a little bit of a synchronicity there. So Vehuia is God elevated and exalted above all things. And it's got a little Latin invocation for him, which is based on the that is based on Psalms 3. So it's got quotations in here from Psalms and Leviticus, which I'm not a biblical scholar, but I do enjoy saying things in Latin and then knowing what they mean in English, and better still, knowing what their value is in gematria according to the Hebrew language and their original Hebrew writing. So you can make talismans that way anyway. Um, it is et tu Domini susceptor meus et gloria mea et exaltans caput meum, which means, but thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory and lifter up of mine head. And see, the thing was, what I was looking for right then was a sort of shield of protection. And I opened right up to it. I downloaded this document, the very first angel. So I learned his Hebrew name. And then the invocation in here for invoking the angels is really quite beautiful. Like it coincides with all of my Abrahamic learning in this realm, right? Like I conjure thee, O celestial teacher, in the name of the Tetragrammaton. I conjure thee in the name of A. I conjure thee in the name of Elohim, and I conjure thee in the name of Elohim. And may it thus be the blessed name of the Lord, which folks who aren't familiarized with the material, Eheye would be Keter in Malkuth, so it'd be the highest point of the tree of life, the Godhead, as it were, the Ein Sofer, the first manifestation of the Ein Sofer, right? Eheye. And then the next one, Elohim, would be the Bina representation or the feminine expression of spiritual energy, right? And then the Eloah would be the masculine representation. Keter Hokman Bina. So it's an invocation in this direction, right? Counterclockwise of secret God names of the supernal triad on the tree of life. But there's lots of fun stuff. And like the next part of it is really, really beautiful. It basically it goes from, where's it at? Let me find it. It goes from It goes from the bottom of the tree of life all the way up to it hits all 10 Sephirah in the invocation. Let me find it. It even has a section that's just exactly like the banishing of the pentagram. Right. I conjure thee, illuminating intelligence, messenger of light. I conjure thee in the name of Uriel, guardian of the north. I conjure thee in the name of Mikael, guardian of the south. I conjure thee in the name of Raphael, guardian of the east. I conjure thee in the name of Gabriel, guardian of the west. I conjure thee, O divine messengers, by the 7 golden candlesticks which burn before the altar of God. And so recently in my astral travels, I've experienced some of these things firsthand and then later finding it in printed form. And so I think that's a very important part, a very important aspect of the magical challenge is that we do the work first and then you discover these writings and teachings and share them with the enclave of initiates, as I like to call it. So the people that are participating in the 100-day magical challenge are the enclave of initiates. And as you discover things through serendipity and synchronicity, I think it's important that we share with each other. Yeah, so he goes on to conjure. I conjure in the name, then you say the angel's name, right? In the name of these attributes, may you quit your celestial abode at the call of their syllables. May you deign, O illuminating power, when they are invoked to descend to this place to instruct thine unworthy servant. I conjure thee in the name of Adonai Melech, master of the realm of form. So it starts off with Adonai Melech, and that represents Malkuth. And then it conjures thee in the name of Shaddai El Kai, Yesod, the mirror of truth, then conjured in the name of Hod, Lord and Master of the divine words, in the name of Netzach, sovereign essence of beauty, in the name of Tifereth, principle of the realm of glory, in the name of Geburah, principle of infinite justice, in the name of Hesed, divine mercy, Bina, uncreated wisdom, and Keter, the horizon of eternity. And then it finishes with the Tetragrammaton, Eheye Elohim Eloah. And then there's one more section which has some stuff that's a little bit too dogmatic with Abrahamic stuff that some people might not like the covenant between the Eternal One and the sons of Abraham. Some people might not appreciate it. Nothing bothers me anymore. But then it's got this one section, blazing star, which guided the Magi. So I thought that part was very beautiful. So some of this language in here is quite eloquent, and I will adapt it to my own meditations and prayers. But it's not going to be for everyone because it took me literally decades of studying before these things would start open at my will. So now that I'm doing the great work after the crossing of the abyss, right? I recently went through a situation, and everyone has, I believe, at this time, everyone who's alive right now has gone through this great situation of turbulence and the crossing of the abyss. And maybe if you've done the work, then you have crossed. But if you haven't done the work yet, then these things might not necessarily mean anything to you. So they're not included in the regular curriculum of the Astral Challenge, as it were. But what is included is um, just basic stuff. I got some stuff here, some notes. Learning basic energetic, type of pulling in that heavenly and earthly energy and then storing it in your lower dantian. So basically understanding the three dantians, right? And I'll tell you a little bit about the Astral Challenge. Um, a study guide of the astral dynamics. So we've been in it for 2 weeks now, day 13, and we've gone through dimensional theory, the projected double, the mind split, astral sight. And right now we're focusing on the section of the book on Robert Bruce's book, Astral Dynamics, on the section called Astral Sight. So if you want to pick up and join us in this challenge, then grab a copy of Robert Bruce's Astral Dynamics and get into part one and just have a look at the material there. Yeah, Owen's out there in Happy Line. Good to see you again, Owen. How are you, man? How the hell are you? What do you say there, laddie? Um, Owen Ryan's a genuine Irish, a genuine Irishman. Good to see you, man. How are you? You know Priscilla? She's new to the channel. Day one. Yo, Frank, what's happening? Good to see all you guys, man. Let me check the chat a little bit. First beings to have shown me interactions in the astral. It's so amazing. Yeah, it wasn't until I really started getting into deeply visualizing the four archangels, right? Before me, Raphael. That the celestial realms really started to open to me. And because I hadn't studied the tree of life since I was a teenager. I mean, I'm a German Irish Jew, like I said, and I had an uncle who was an Orthodox Hebrew. He got me a yarmulke and a dreidel for like my ninth birthday or something, and got snipped or whatever. but and I had a bar mitzvah, but I didn't remember any of that because I went really far away from it into the Eastern esoteric arts of China with Qigong and Kung Fu and Chinese magical systems. And none of that shit really worked. Like I thought that was the answer. I thought that was the way to do the great work was by gathering chi. But it wasn't until I came back to my Western mystery roots that it really opened up for me. And when I started doing the middle pillar and the lesser banishing of the pentagram and reconnecting with the Godhead and the angelic forces, then like the doors of the temple were thrown wide open, and I was taken directly in to the invisible realms and allowed to sit in the library of Alexandria and read from the Book of Life. I've experienced that like two or three times now. Um, just really, really, really mind blowing stuff started to happen once I started to make my way back to the Western mystery tradition. And so I think it's valuable, at least at an individual level. It's valuable for me. Um, at a group level, I think everyone can benefit from some of the teachings. Yeah, that's right. But again, you have to do close readings in a limited time period. You can't go too far out in every direction. But yeah, synthesis of it is important. Like, for example, I read Blavatsky's Secret Doctrine when I was in high school, and it meant nothing to me. Like, I couldn't figure out any of that. And it's so steeped in Hinduism and other systems, and so you can't get an entire amalgamation. You have to study these systems independently. Like the Chinese systems hadn't even really been exposed very well back when I was a young man. And so that's why I came to China because I wanted to study those systems directly without the interference of the Western minds trying to interpret them and transliterate them. But now looking back, like these systems that I learned here did not originate in Tibet. They're not Indian, they're uniquely Chinese. And so the Chinese have in their systems of esoteric understanding, it's a very simpler path. It's you wake up your own internal energies without too much guidance and then discover things on your own. And then once you've done the work, then the the teaching will appear and you can read through it. So putting all of that teaching before and reading too much of other people's writings will block the door of your own enlightenment. So the great work and the method come first in the Chinese system, that you just need to learn the method and do the great work, and then everything else will be revealed to you. So I think that's an important distinction rather than filling your head with a bunch of fantasies written by other people. You need to experience it directly, and then those things will make sense to you, like the guardian at the threshold. Do you know this? Have you been up the chasm, and have you entered the fathomless cavern? Have you met with the guardian at the threshold? It's a good question. Let's read a little bit about it. So it says in this book, the main focus is consciousness from the viewpoint of energy and symbolism. But to make it concrete, we will weave in some of the more practical areas of alchemy and astrology. And so Miss Mary Moon, she's our master astrologer out there in Happy Land. Alchemy and astrology that cross over with the mystic Kabbalah. So Dion Fortune's mystical Kabbalah, definitely. This particular one I'm looking at right now. The techniques presented can also be seen as a form of inner alchemy, wherein the process of solve et coagula, or separating and recombining, is utilized as the chief tool. The school of mystical Kabbalah we are discussing falls under the domain of the Hermetic or Kabbalah of wizardry. This is because it most closely resembles Kabbalistic doctrines and practices that came out of the Renaissance, which were resurrected in force during the 19th and 20th centuries occult revival periods. During the Renaissance, Hermeticism brought a new sense of classical dignity to Kabbalistic studies and elevated them from being a purely Jewish subject to less religious in appearance and palatable and disseminated to everyone in general. So it's no longer a possession of the Jewish Hebrew people. It's available to all who would study. In turn, Kabbalah brought a biblical basis, even if a Jewish one, to Hermeticism, as well as practical methods of working that were still understood, respected, and even feared in a hostile, anti-Jewish Catholic Europe. Thus, it is important to have an understanding of both traditional Hermetic and Kabbalistic philosophy if we are to put it into practice. So he gives a basic definition of Hermetic philosophy and the Tree of Life, or the Kabbalah of Wizardry. So the basic definition for the Kabbalah of Wizardry, I think, is important, and Poke Runyon gives a really good, concise summary of the Kabbalah of Wizardry. So there's a big difference between Hermetic Kabbalah and Hebrew Kabbalah, right, as it were. Here's our four archangels in the tradition of the OTA. Two of them are masculine and two are feminine. So we definitely distinguish between the masculine and feminine genders in the Temple of Astarte. You see the bottom two, which is funny too, because Mikael and Raphael are represented as male, masculine and masculine, and then feminine male, right? So feminine and masculine. And then Uriel and Gabriel are represented as masculine and feminine, and then feminine and feminine. So you have the feminine sides on the pillar of severity and the masculines on the pillar of mercy. But it all integrates, yeah. So um, let me find what I wanted to read, though. If I go too far afield, then I'll never stay on topic. So look at this. Is a I don't know if you guys know Master Fabian or not, but this is I'll not show you what he wrote to me because that's kind of private. But I'll show you. This is a signed copy by Pope Runyon. I went and got this book from him directly. Uh, he says, with fraternal regards, from Frater Fabian. So, how to invoke angels in the crystal and evoke spirits to visible form in the dark mirror. So, you guys must be doing something right because you have invoked Frederick Francis Lunas Aristeas to appear in your dark mirror right now. The Kabbalah of Wizardry, chapter 5 of Solomonic Magic, page 56. So I'll give you just a really basic rundown of what it means to study the Tree of Life. Kabbalah of Wizardry. So let us begin by attempting a one-sentence definition of Kabbalah. Kabbalah is a philosophical, mathematical, geometric system that describes the creation and operation of the universe through 4 dimensions by employing a schematic design containing 10 spheres of descending emanation connected by 22 paths attributed to the letters of the alphabet and their numerical equivalents. This is a starting point, but not much better than giving weight, height, and color as the definition of an elephant. Essential to understanding Kabbalah is the concept of the Ein Sof, the limitless nothing, that contracts into itself and produces the Ein Sof, or the limitless light, which then expands to produce the visible universe and continues to enliven and ensoul it. This conception predates modern physics' Big Bang theory by, it says 1,000 years, but really closer to 6,000 years. It also puts Kabbalistic philosophy into a very controversial position in reference to Orthodox Judaism and Christian religion. At the highest level, the Kabbalists can conceive God as not judgmental or in any way dissatisfied with his creation. He simply is and continues to be. A contemporary popular analogy would be the Force, as in the Lucas Star Wars films. The universe is therefore operated by lesser, more differentiated personifications, such as angels, gods, goddesses, and elemental spirits. This idea was originally Neoplatonic and can be explored further in the writings of the philosopher Plotinus and his followers. Uh, so that's basically, I don't want to go too far into his stuff because it deviates a little bit from what we're doing here on the Magical Challenge right now. But it gives you the concise understanding of what did you say? It was a philosophical, geometric, mathematical scheme. Yeah, so check out Runyon definitely. He's a good guy. I love him.
Is that?
No, I'm not. I have classes until after lunch. Why? What's up?
When will you have your next class? So I can arrange her.
Oh, 11. Yeah, 11 o'clock. So some of the things that are recommended for this section of the 100-day magical challenge, as before in the first 100-day magical challenge, a few tips for enhancing your learning is number one, daily practice is essential. So establish a regular daily schedule for trying to astrally project, 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, but you want to establish it at the same time every day if you can. If you have the opportunity to spend a few minutes during the day working on a particular visualization or meditation, in addition, I'm recording something, yeah. It's fine though. You can do whatever you want. Doesn't bother me. The brain and the let's see here. Where did I leave off? Oh, keep a notebook of your experiences. So my notebook's pretty straightforward. I've showed it to you guys before. I like to do a chart like this, which shows me when the full moons and new moons are, and then just the basic moon mansions as the moon moves through the different zodiac signs. So this one is for January until we move into Aquarius. I do them for the full moon and the zodiac sign. So this one spans from new moon to new moon for the 12th moon, and then just like general note taking on what's going on in Dreamland and the astral realm, basic projection models, right? Like what a projection looks like. Mission statement, try to make a Twilight mission. Early on stuff, right? Like entering the Temple of Malkuth and utilizing the chariot as a vehicle for projection. Again, I came up with that idea back on the 17th of December, which was 6 days before the astral travel section started. And then the Merkava means the charioteer when entering the invisible palaces, the heavenly palaces, until just now today, which is the 4th of January. So again, shows out those synchronicities work, right? Again, I think it's useful and important to enliven your study of certain tarot cards. Like take for example, this is the star, right? That we all know, and then that's my notes on the star, and this was for Aquarius, but it was back in July under the auspices of the dog star Sirius, right? So I was in the doldrums, and I thought, what's a good symbol for this time that will help give inspiration and motivation? And so it says it is La Étoile Flamboyante, right? The That's the beautiful thing, the flaming one, right? The flamboyant one. Notes on the judgment of Christ and the Aeon of Horus, and then just the commingling of the masculine and feminine energies represented by the two cups. The gold cup represents the yang energy or masculine energy, the gift of the spirit. And then the silver cup represents the great mother Bina and the feminine energy, the receptive energy. And so fun stuff there. Just general notation, all different kinds of stuff in there. But that's kind of digressing, getting off the point. Let me stay on target here to finish this up. To finish up, I will make a brief commentary on the astral method. So this is the method I have developed for the astral challenge. Oh, and an interesting from RJH's It Works, he wrote that you should do the work in advance and then you will receive your reward. And I thought, wow, that's just so fascinating how that completely coincides with what I've been researching, is that the work needs to be done first. And don't get too much in the realm of reading what other people wrote about it. Just learn the basic method and then just get out there and do the work. Do your own thinking on all occasions. You have complete control over very little outside your own thoughts, words, and small actions. This alone is laden with significance. What you can create independent of any outside material, therein lies the secret key. Decide definitely what you want from life, create a plan for it, and let nothing stand in your way. Little meandering here on astral energies. You can see that old sphere of Malkuth down there at the bottom, but that's not what I wanted to look at. Here's what I wanted to look at. So as I created the basic astral method, right? It's ASTRAL. Aleph, the first Aleph, right? Aleph to Lamed is to activate your attentive awareness. The S, Samek, is for stopping the monkey mind. Tau, the Tau letter, T, is to tell yourself what you are doing. This is to understand self-hypnosis. Resh, Liber Resh Helios, represents reminding your inner mind to remember and do record keeping, right? The R, remember, recall, reiterate, records. Okay, so that's accessing the Akashic records. The next A, the second A, Aleph, is to activate your twilight mission and affirmations. So the A here is activation of affirmations, which is your twilight mission. What are you up to? I'll talk more about that in the future. And then the L section of the astral method is launch your consciousness into the luminous realms beyond. So the A gets you ready, activating your awareness, and the L is the launch point, the stepping off point. And the method I like to use is pretty fun and easy. I'll share it with you guys. It's very simple. Just in your mind, visualize yourself at a very high point, like on a building or something. And if you ever experience vertigo from heights, then just seeing something on TV, like someone at a really high point, will make you like dizzy and queasy. That's the kind of feeling you're looking for. So you could close your eyes and then just imagine yourself in a really high place, like on a building or a bridge or something, and then jump off, right? Get that giddy feeling where jumping off into like if you fall off a bridge or something, how you're just going to be suddenly falling and it's very scary and you'll feel yourself and you get that lightheaded feeling, right? That's what you want to do. But then you imagine after that, for a few moments of falling and getting that feeling, bam, you imagine falling into your body and then you go into practice 2. So that's step 1 for becoming aware of astral traveling, and it makes it really, it bridges the gap and makes it super easy to um, to learn the basics of astral travel, because it's that type of feeling that you will, in the beginning days of learning to project, that you will experience that. Yeah, like your stomach's in your throat. And then, so once you've done that, that's step 1. Then so that's at the L part of the astral method, right? The launch. So you just step off the cliff, as it were, right? Plunge into the abyss. Then step 2, you feel that, and then you start rotating in the mind. So now you're back in your body. You've done that short visualization practice, and then you just start rotating your intention all around the room, as if you're the sun, right? You're the center of the solar system, and some small satellite is orbiting you, which is known as your E, or in intention. In Chinese, we call it the E, sure, the intent. And so that'll be step 2 in the practice. And you should do those 2 simple practices, take you about 2-3 minutes, right? Do those 2 every day for a week, and then you can move on to step 3. But we'll just start with steps 1 and 2, right? So I've been recommending this for a long time. And if you do the work, then there's more to come, right? But if you don't do the work, then it's not worth moving forward. If possible, set aside a special place for your work. Number 4, be regular in your time of practice, right? By creating healthy habits of time and place, we make our study period something we look forward to and enjoy. Number 5, make haste slowly. Spend the proper amount of time on each exercise before moving on to the next. Practice with a calm, relaxed confidence that everything is working perfectly fine. Number 6, take notes as you read. Write down the key ideas as they're presented to you. Try to learn some of the words in Hebrew, Latin, Greek, or any other language, any other than English, because that kind of tricks the critical factor of the mind. If you learn some of these things in either the Hebrew, Latin, or Greek, then it will activate them directly without your conscious mind trying to analyze it. So we're kind of tricking the critical factor, right? The analytical factor of the mind and its persistency to doubt everything and to be endlessly skeptical, right? That's what you're breaking through. Take time to learn the technical terms of the Hermetic language. Study with a friend or two if possible. The power of the collective work to spark individual insights and transformations is well documented. Even the New Testament says it simply: where 2 or more are gathered in my name together, I will be in the midst of them. 2 or 3 students working regularly have often produced marvelous results, and historically, small groups have been the basis for some of the most important esoteric as well as exoteric organizations in history. And that's it, right? That's where it ends. And that's where I'll end today's transmission. Thank you for joining me. Very nice to meet you, Priscilla. Good to see you again, Owen, Owen Ryan, Miss Mary Moon, Angelica, Mary at Sea Level, everyone out in Happy Land. If I missed anyone, I apologize. It's not my intention to overlook you. It's that if I look at the ideas room too much, I get a little bit distracted sometimes. Um, yes, get the ka out of the ba. It's very inspiring. It's different for everyone. Yes, indeed, you are correct, Priscilla. I hope you found some joy in today's transmission, and I hope you're able to join us on the 100-day magical challenge. Guten Nacht, Frankenmoon. Guten Nacht to you, Miss Mary Moon, out in Happy Land, Nova Scotia. Um, Wie geht es Ihnen? Geht es gut? Danke. Und Sie? Auf Wiedersehen, mein friends and family, Wizards Warrior, Wanderer Wayfarer, and Wildcat alike. Y'all keep doing good magic as we wander into the abodes of the future, as above, so below. Until next time, yes, much love to all of you. And please hit the little thumb button and like and subscribe, all that happy horse shit. And I'll see you on next transmission at at Astra per Aspera. Until then, bye for now, guys. 再见.